Hello everyone, Scott with Heritage Farms. Hey, it's Friday. Look who's here. We got Sadie here today. And what does that mean? It means my oldest daughter is home for the weekend. I'm so proud of her. She is a doctor. She basically went to college, went to 4 years of medical school, and now she's going into her third year, I believe, of residency. So she's got another 2 years basically in the residency program. And then after that, she'll be out, she'll be board certified and a practicing OB/GYN doctor. And so proud of her. She's worked so hard to get to this point. But during this residency time, you know, they have no life. They work nonstop, around the clock, night shifts, day shifts, 200-hour weeks. I mean, it's just brutal, and they pay them just literally minimum wage during this period. But they're getting hands-on experience and learning the trade, so it's all worthwhile. So where are we at? This is her 2016 fourrunner, and basically it needs brakes. And you know, we're trying to watch every penny we can. So instead of spending $500, $600 for a front brake job, we went down to O'Reilly's, picked up some brand new rotors, brand new brake pads, and that's the project today. We're gonna install these, get these on here, and the back ones, they got a little more life in them, but we're just gonna focus on getting the front ones done today. Hey, but before we start this project, if you're new to the channel, hit the thumbs up, leave us a comment, and subscribe. We got all kinds of content on this channel. This is a little bit unique for the channel on what we're doing today, but I hope you enjoy it. Hope it's beneficial, and we'll go from there. Let's get this project started. Okay guys, so let's get this project started. So the first thing we're doing here is you always want to take a picture. I recommend you take a picture. We got the tire removed, we got the car properly secured. We're removing the pins that hold the brake pads in place. There's a couple of clips you got to take out so you can get them out. We're now taking a flat nose or a flat blade screwdriver. We're prying the brake pads back into the calipers to give us room to get the pads off. Since we're not reusing the rotors, I'm not worried about scratching them. So we're just basically taking a screwdriver, flat tip, and prying the pads against the pistons in the caliper to allow us to remove them. Once we get them off, then from there we're going to remove the basically the caliper, and we'll see what we got. This is a 4-piston caliper, really nice unit from Toyota. Pretty pleased with it, but you can see I keep putting the old pads in there, and I'm trying to get those 4 pistons to push back in the housing, because we're going to need all the room we can get to get the new thicker brake pads on there. So once we've done this a couple of times, we can get the pads out pretty easily. Now we're going to remove the caliper. We're going to use a 19 millimeter wrench, but first we're going to take this little bracket off that holds the brake line. That'll give us a little more slack. I think it's a 12 millimeter wrench or socket. All right, so now let's see where we're at. So now you can see I'm having a little trouble here with the ratchet, so I'm going to use a wrench, little persuasion. I know this is probably not the right way to do it, but this is what I'm doing. I'm taking a 19 millimeter Craftsman wrench, gonna beat on it a little bit with a hammer. We're gonna get it to bust loose. Once we get it to bust loose, we're gonna remove the 2 bolts that hold it in place. Then we're gonna take like a coat hanger, and we're gonna make a little bracket here that's gonna help support the caliper while we're doing all of our work here, because we don't want it pulling on the brake line. I don't want to redo the brake line. I don't want to bleed the brakes. So I'm going to find a place up here on the spring, just some place to hold the caliper up out of the way and keep pressure off of the brake line itself. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take, we got to get the rotor to pop off the hub, and it's kind of rusted on there. So we're going to use I think it's an 8 millimeter bolt, like 1 1/4 inch or 1 1/2 inch. And that, if you tighten it up, it'll just push against the hub and it will push the rotor off. There is some surface rust here. So what we're doing now is we're going to take a wire brush, knock all of the surface rust off of this area, make a nice clean surface. Probably come back and hit it with a little emery cloth right here, just to kind of shine things up, make sure we have a good clean surface for that new rotor to sit on. So we're just trucking along here. So now I'm gonna go get the new rotor, come back, and we're going to get this thing ready to go. So you could take the rotor down and have it turned at your local hardware store, probably save a few dollars, but in my world, time is money. It's just easier for me to get a new rotor and be ready to go. So you can see the new rotor here. You can see the new pads versus the old pads, literally twice as much material. I'm going to change and put a new set of latex gloves on because I don't want to contaminate the rotors with greasy fingerprints. One thing they always do is they put oil on these rotors. So we're going to take a towel here and we're going to wipe off all the excess oil. They do that just to keep it from rusting so that it's nice and ready to go. So, all right, man, I'm pretty impressed with the way this rotor looks. Good piece of equipment. Looks just like the original. One thing I do is at this point, I take a couple of lug nuts and I'll just screw a couple of lug nuts on here, mainly just to hold the rotor in place until we get the caliper back on and the new pads installed. And then at that point, we can go from there. So let's undo the coat hanger. Let's get the rotor off. Let's get it back in position. And once again, I overdid it here, holding things in place with that coat hanger. But all right, we got things going our way. All right, so we're going to put the two bolts back in. I'm just going to hand tighten them. At this point, we're going to get some thread tight. This is removable so that at some point down the road, if we need to back it out, we can. Just a little dab on the tip of the bolt really does a good job of just helping ensure that bolt is going to stay in place. So at this point, I'm just going to hand tighten them. Rotor looks good. Calipers are back. We're going to try to install the new pads. Well, first thing I realized is the calipers or the pistons are not back far enough, so I'm going to install an old brake pad, take a C-clamp, and I'm going to tighten it up. And what that does is pushes the pistons back into the caliper so that the new brake pad can fit. So I'm going to have to do the same thing for both sides, the left and the right. Tighten it up, move the pistons in, install the new pad. All right, so we're moving along here, making progress. All right, so once we get past this stage, then it's just a matter of putting the new pins in that hold the rods, or that actually hold the pads in place. Look at that. Oh, we're looking good. All right, so we're going to take the pins. My pins were a little bit dirty, so we're just going to take some emery cloth, clean them up just a little bit, make sure they're nice and shiny, make sure they're straight, they're not bent. They look good at this point. Slide them back in. May have to give a little tap or persuasion with a hammer just to get them to go in. We're also going to do the top and bottom the same way. The bottom one, we do need to install the little spring clip that was on there. And we'll reference our photo that we took originally. And you can see here just knocking off some of the dirt and debris. I'm going to go ahead and put the top one in because the top one really it doesn't have the clip on it like the bottom one does. So tap, 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 get it in place. Looking good. All right, we're making progress here. So now we're down to the bottom one. So let's put the Loctite up, get that out of the way, use it another day. So here's the little clip. So as we start to put the pin in, I'm going to make sure we got both sides of the clip engaged. And that's what's so great about having a previous photograph so you can see exactly how to do this. Okay, now let's see, we have a little pin that goes on the back side which holds the two pins, the top and the bottom pin, in place. We're going to poke it through the holes. It actually goes into the brake pad itself, and it ensures that those two pins do not come out as you're driving down the road. And it's a little bit of a tedious project. You kind of have to twist the pins. There's a little hole in the end of the pins, and you got to just keep adjusting it until it all lines up like it was originally. So don't get frustrated. Just take your time, be patient, and it will all come together. All right, we're getting close now. So you can kind of see what the process looks like. All right, so we have to back it out just a little bit so we can rotate it to align the holes. Hey, did I ever tell you guys I really like this light band LED light that I'm using? First off, it's really comfortable to wear, and man, it lights up the whole work area 360 degrees, and it seems to last like forever on a charge. Can't say enough about that. Wish I was a paid sponsor, but unfortunately they haven't contacted me yet. Hey, Lightband, if you're watching, please give us a shout out. Love to do some other videos. All right, enough jibber jabber. We're trying to get that little safety wire in that holds the two pins, and it's really fighting us a little bit because each of those pins have to be in the correct area. But hey, I think we're just about to beat it into submission. Looking better. Okay. Almost there. Almost. And voila. I think we got it. Pretty pleased with the way things are looking. All right, so I'm gonna go back and reference my picture when I first started, hold it up here and look to make sure that the finished product looks exactly the same as when I started. Yeah, I'm digging it. What did we ever do before cell phones? Okay, I'm kind of pretty happy with this. I'm gonna do one more little safety feature, not necessarily recommended, but this is just me being a dad and wanting to make sure everything's safe for my daughter. I'm gonna bend those little ends over just so they, almost like a Carter pin, so there's just no way they're gonna pull out. All right, I'm feeling pretty good about things. We are about to wrap this up. So the process is identical for both sides. So it really doesn't matter if you're starting on the driver's side or the passenger side. The process is absolutely the same. And it should take you close to an hour to do each side if you're slow like me, but that's okay. I was enjoying the process, enjoying spending time with my daughter and getting to work everything out. All right, I think I feel pretty good about all this. So just doing a little once over, making sure we got the little brackets in place, making sure they're aligned. The rotor spins. I'm digging it. Make sure we wipe off any grease. Okay, so now the last step we're gonna do here, and I apologize for, I don't know why this looks like we have a strobe light going on, but I had an LED spotlight and then I had the LED on my headband, and with the video, it almost gives that strobe-like effect. So now we're using a torque wrench to torque the calipers back on. I think the setting is at 90 pounds, and we're gonna pull up on this until we hear it click. Voila, we got it. Look at that. Glory be to God. We got the job done. Feeling pretty good. Okay, guys, here we are. Well, it took us right at pretty much 3 hours to get this job done. It was about an hour and a half for each side. Now keep in mind, we worked slow and fellowshipped along the way, and the first 30 or 40 minutes was actually spent gathering all the tools that we needed. Just a quick rundown on that. You need a 19 millimeter socket and wrench. You need a ratchet. You need a 12 millimeter wrench or socket. It's good to have a rubber mallet. Hey, I always use a hammer on these projects because sometimes you just need to persuade something. You're probably going to also need some Loctite thread tightener to go thread sealant. When you're putting this back together, it's good to have some latex gloves. Let's see what else. Oh, you're also going to need a bolt, and that bolt, I believe, is an 8 millimeter by something like, I don't know, at least a minimum of 1.5 inches, and a socket for that. But other than that, man, it was a pretty easy project. It wasn't too challenging. We just kind of worked slow, took our time, made sure we did everything right, and got it all together. And we just took it for a test drive, and it's a lot more responsive. And I feel good knowing that she's got good brakes. So what a great weekend. She's home for the weekend. My youngest daughter, who I'm so proud of as well, is a school teacher, and it's her birthday this weekend. So the whole family's gonna celebrate. I'll probably only end up doing a day trip to the farm this weekend, but that's okay. We're gonna spend some good quality time with the family and have everybody over tomorrow and do a little grilling out. So, hey, as always, glory be to God. Thanks for watching.